Good morning, fellow believers that bird is the word. Today I'm exploring Elk Falls Provincial Park, which is one of my favorite spots to go birding in Campbell River. It's this beautiful park that the Campbell River passes through. There's numerous side channels and a rich mixed wood forest, which provides beautiful habitat for many different species of birds. It's safe to say that spring has turned into summer here on Vancouver Island, which is always a bit bittersweet for me. Personally, I love the spring when the birds are back and the flowers are in bloom, but the warmer temperatures as of late have been nice. Things are a bit different for the birds as well. Many of the songbirds are a little more quiet, and I'm seeing more and more young of year hopping around. I've got under a month here on Vancouver Island, so I'm just trying to take it all in and enjoy it while I'm here before we're headed back to Alberta. My target species today is evening grosbeak. They have been seen around, but they are certainly not an abundant bird. To date, I've mostly seen them in the winter, but they are a breeder here. So come along with me, let's do some birding and hopefully see some cool stuff. This was the first bird I saw that morning. Maybe the coffee hadn't hit my bloodstream, but it took me a second to figure out what it was. At first my brain went sparrow, Lincoln sparrow maybe, but seeing the light-colored bill and the color on its shoulder, I realized it was a juvenile dark-eyed junco, another young of year bird. I'm in the stand of red alder, and it's amazing to see how much scarring these trees have from red-breasted sapsucker foraging on them. You can tell that the sapsuckers have quite the circuit here to collect sap and the insects that get trapped within it. Such an interesting life history strategy for the red-breasted sapsucker. I watched a pair of red-breasted sapsuckers drill away for a while. Sapsuckers drill hundreds of shallow holes, known as wells, in the bark of trees and shrubs. They then lap up the sap with their bristly tongue. They do this over several neighboring trees and follow a circuit, collecting sap and insects along the way. They are ecologically important because they're not the only species that make use of these wells. Other species use them for food too, including insects, small mammals, and even hummingbirds. These are pretty common birds in my area, but their bright red color always makes for an impressive sight. One of my favorite stops in Elk Falls Provincial Park is this wetland behind me, which offers a diversity of habitats and some great birds. For example, I'm hearing willow flycatcher, which is a species I don't hear or see too much in Campbell River. And as I've said in previous videos, we don't have a lot of wetlands in Campbell River, so it's always nice to set up beside one and see what birds you can see. I'm just gonna take my time here, set up the tripod, and just kind of take in the beauty that this morning has to offer. This is what I was hoping to see at the wetland. Cedar waxwing. This is one of the species that got me into birding. I remember seeing one for the first time and being blown away by just how sleek and unique looking they are. If you are looking to infect a friend or relative with the birding mind virus, I'd start with this species, which is often common along rivers or the side of wetlands like this. They are just so pleasing to the eye, especially through binoculars. This wetland is a beaver pond. You can see the beaver lodge over here. This is one of the birdiest places in Campbell River. There's always just a lot of species flying around here. And this just illustrates the fact that beavers are these ecosystem engineers, that by creating these wetland habitats, they create habitats for many different species. And for that, I thank you, beavers. This was my bird of the day. Can you tell what species it is? So that was pretty great to find, the McGillivray's warbler. They seem to be one of the hardest warblers to see here on Vancouver Island. They are always sulking through the underbrush. That's kind of their habitat. They like these thickets of shrubs. I do hear them singing relatively often, but I would say they are not that abundant here as well. So it was great to finally see one. There was a male and a female calling to each other. That's what tipped me off. I could hear their dry, repeated call. Really a gorgeous bird. It seems like the male was almost coming out of breeding plumage. I think McGillivrays are one of the species that have pretty short breeding seasons here, so they might be wrapping up, but always a cool bird to see. So it's about 9 o'clock now, and I am moving away from the beaver pond. On sunny days like these, I like starting out on open habitats that have more light and move into forested habitats as the sun rises in the sky and brings more light through the canopy. One bird I stopped to admire in the forest understory was American robin. One thing to remember as a birder is to still enjoy the common species, and there's lots to admire about the robin. What I like about them is their plumage, adaptability, and their curious and bold attitude. This one was hard at work collecting food, maybe for its second clutch of the year. Robins can produce 2 or even 3 clutches in a year. That's one of the reasons they are so abundant, and I'm thankful for it. Another species I noticed in that area was this brown creeper. I gotta say, I find creepers difficult to record. It just seems they are always moving up a tree faster than I can pan up, but their secretive nature, camouflage plumage, and interesting tree climbing behavior always make them an exciting find for me. I am looping back to my car using this old access road. The reason why I'm doing this is these roads increase in elevation, and that gives me an advantage into the forest. I'm hoping that this habitat is a little more suitable for evening grosbeak, being mixed wood with more mature trees. I haven't heard any yet though. I'm sad to say I struck out on the evening grosbeak that day. You can't get your target bird every day. But I wasn't too down because I saw 2 of my favorite birds. The first was western tanager. I saw the female first, and the male was chasing close behind. They are such incredible birds. It seems like they just escaped from a tropical rainforest somewhere. And I guess that's exactly what happened. None of these shots are going to win any awards, but regardless, I was happy to capture them. As my morning of birding was wrapping up, I ran into this beast. It's never a bad day of birding when you see a pileated woodpecker. They seem to move in such a weird way. They look like a bad animatronic at a dated theme park sometimes. The day finding a pileated woodpecker is no longer exciting for me is the day you can shoot. What I'm trying to say is they're very impressive birds. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. That was a great morning of birding. Elk Falls Provincial Park is always a treat to visit. Now, I didn't travel too far this morning. I think it goes to show that you don't have to hike long distances to see cool birds. Just find a couple birdie spots and you will be rewarded with some beautiful species. Thanks for watching, everyone. Until next time, happy birding.